One thing also, operating a media house is very expensive. And one would wonder or ask, how is Gambian Talent been funded throughout these years by Ousman, Joof alone?
Ousman has always been creative, and money is never an obstacle to any of the things that I want to do. I get it started by doing it myself. Like I said, I have a phone that I could sacrifice to not use a smartphone. I sent it here to Gambia. That was the very first phone that they had that Fatu Samba and others were using. To buy a tape recorder for those young people then that were trying to get into media and did not have access or opportunity for any of these things. I mean, I buy that for them. It grew naturally and organically. When I first started it, it's not like I just started and had a business plan. I'm going to do this and had $300,000 or dollars or whatever to start it. It's organic. My growth is organic. Where it is today is an organic thing from step to step, step to step. So the first phone I sent them, like I said, is a phone I was using. I decided to go get another phone and send them the one that I had. With time, I was able to send a second one and a third one. I had some money. I was able to buy my first camera. I bought it. I bought a second camera. I bought my very first camera, in fact, locally here. Alaji Manka bought it for me. The very first camera they were using, because they were only using phones. I remember Ramatla and Fatsamba telling me that, oh, we go for coverages and they, send us back and say, oh, Jogel fi and send mobile, because nobody believed. And they were going live with those mobiles. We had lots of ratings back then, tens of thousands of people watching all our content at the time. Maria Macham and Omijalo, who were doing the youth Pantaba, so they did it with a mobile phone. I had so many people that have passed through the institution. So I was growing organically, whether there was money or not. I will use my own resources to fund these people, to give them fares. At the start, I told them very straightforward, I don't have money to pay you, but I can give you the opportunity and the privilege to showcase your talent. And of course, learn the skills. They learn, and that was what was happening. Until such a time that I could afford to pay any of them, I started paying. When I knew I could open an office space, the very first space I opened was probably the size of this space, but less in length from where we are sitting all the way to that end, with no ventilation, nothing. That's where we did all the shows that we had. And I remember being caricatured by one woman when my people did a show and said, oh, we're reporting from our Gambian Talent Studios here in Canving. The woman came and was invited on Semester Avenue. She left and wrote online, please don't call it studio. This is being a studio. Alhamdulillah, now that it has grown to the extent that we can have this big thing. Gambians around the world have equally supported me occasionally by donating here and there. There was a time that one could make a little bit from social media with Facebook and YouTube. We are paying a little bit that I was adding money to fund it. And now it is at a point that I am telling Gambian Talents, fund yourselves. I cannot do this anymore. So at this minute, Gambian Talents is funding itself. The people that are working here have to make the money to fund it, because I'm not able to do it alone. By coming up with projects, by asking different government and non-governmental parastatals. The reality is every single individual and institution in the Gambia knows about Gambian talents for the most part and relies on Gambian talent to send Boti Honghe if they are in a desperate situation or a situation where they want to reach the masses. They come to us. Otherwise, they can criticize, they can caricature, they can say anything. But anytime that they need the Gambian people to hear them, when they make their list of 10 media platforms to engage, Gambian Talents is part of it.
I also understand that you've applied to expand, you applied for a license to expand Gambian Talent from online to maybe satellite, to have a radio station and then a TV station, but still now this request has not been approved by the government.
So when I was coming to the Gambia in 2017, I came very determined, very ambitious, very zealous and determined and thinking, oh, it's a change of government. And they've been calling us. We all played a major role in getting President Barrow into office. A lot has been done back then by Gambians in the diaspora. And when President Barrow wanted an opportunity to spread his message, it was with the online media. A lot has happened They didn't have access to GRTS. They had access to it for a very short time. I think within a few days, when things got overturned, GRTS wasn't covering the opposition anymore. When President Barrow had press conferences, press releases, his daily briefings, meetings with people, we were the ones covering it. And we've done so many things. Myself, I wrote the speeches of 3 institutions in the performing arts sector of the Gambia to denounce former President Yahya Jammeh. I'm on record. Ask Kitabu, the comedian. I mobilized the actors and actresses and comedians and wrote a speech for them to denounce former President Yahya Jammeh and tell him to step down and hand over power to President Adama Barrow. Kitabu is alive. People can ask him. He read that speech on behalf of the Gambian comedian community. Ask the Gambia Music Union, Jibu Balage and all of them. I mobilized them and had them do a similar thing. This is when Yahya Jammeh held onto the powers and wanted to overturn the verdict of the Gambian people. So we did all of that, not expecting to be rewarded, but be given the level playing field to be able to invest and bring back what we so desire and passionate about doing into our country. Coming here, the bar gets set so high. Within a short period of time, things were not together for the government because it was a new government, the new deal over, the coalition government. They had so many challenges at the beginning because Yahya Jammeh did not leave the level playing field. He left and the institutions were kind of not structured. They didn't even have handing over notes. So when the dust settled, we started this process. But it rightly coincided with the 3 years Jotna movement, reminding President Barrow. The first 2 years, they were trying to get themselves together. 3 years Jotna came and said, hey, we need to do this. So 3 years Jotna destabilized that whole thing. And immediately after their riots, demonstrations, and the things, the closure of Home Digital FM, Pamudu Bojang, and King FM, and all of these things, they put a moratorium on the issuance of radio station license. And the bar is set so high for the TV that the average Gambian like myself, that's not a millionaire, that is trying, that met every other requirement, that is doing everything possible, that has the existing infrastructure, that has the existing manpower, and is already doing it, and they are relying on us on a regular basis. They send us their emails, their text messages, their phone calls to invite us to programs and to cover. They want to reach the Gambian people. They come to us. They set the bar so high and are not making it easy for us. For both the TV is available. The bar is so high that I am not able to fulfill it yet. I have to be straightforward. And the few that have had it somehow would have to go through the back door or would have to go above and beyond or have partnerships or however they're doing it in order to be licensed. I am not in that position to do so. The radio station, simply there is a moratorium on it. Set standards. My project is a very genuine one. Training young people. Since 2017 till to date, we've trained over 600 young people in different capacities. Just 2 days ago is when we graduated 40 new ones. We've put over 400 people in the job market, trained everybody for free of charge. The young people around the country need this. I just told you. And again, maybe when you edit this video, you can capture that screen on my Facebook page, from my Facebook page, my screenshot with this young man that is in Bansang currently, that needs this opportunity. We want to be able to reach the length and breadth of this country. So be given that is not any favor that we are asking for. Set the things, open it up, and see those who have the capacity to do so, those who will do it responsibly, hold us to account. We know what media comes with. We know that, we can make and break lives. And without a doubt, my work as a media person have made people's lives better, but it has also cost people dearly. I know the power of the media, and I don't censor my people, and I work very hard to make sure that they follow the ethics and the principles of the job. The Charnojalo Code of conduct and all of these things that we have at this point in this country, the media laws and everything, we are aware of and we want to follow. We are not perfect, We are human beings. We'll make mistakes here and there. We are training a lot of young people. We are aware of all of those things, but we make a concerted effort to make sure that we follow the standards and principles and stuff. And we'd love to be given that opportunity. And that's why I asked the minister at the graduation for them to lift that moratorium and actually make it easy for serious institutions and serious Gambians that want to contribute to the media fraternity, and not just a way of cashing in. And I say this, if I were to make the decision, from Yaya Jammeh's time till date, the Gambia government had made those mistakes by issuing AfriCell and the Q Group license. That was a very poor judgment and decision on their end. I'm unapologetic to say it. Because these are entities that used to support the Gambian media houses that are established by Gambians, the radio stations, the online platforms, establishments. I'm on record to say that in 2008, when Sol Sow, the founder and CEO of Capital FM, when he was in Angleterre in UK and I was in the United States, we jointly organized the Gambian Talents Award, in which we recognize Gambians in the media fraternity or in 18 different categories, including media, musicians. Basically, you bring in, now we have the GPU award, we have the Heroes Award, we have the, different type of awards. This was an award that had 18 different categories, Gambians doing things in different walks of life. When we organized that event, AfriCell gave us £6,000 at the time in 2008 to organize that event. They funded my artist then, Singate aka Freaky Joe, when I was his manager, to release an album. Back then, they gave us over $175,000. Everything I'm saying is facts. This was a lot of money then. Now, all these musicians and people, because these institutions became wise, they gave them license. Not only did the government make them cut the money that they were giving to institutions like Gambian Talents at the time, and all these other local radio stations where they bought airtime and spots, they now became competition for us. Not only that, they started taking the talents that we have groomed, the employees that we have, and paying them and offering them more money. These are organizations, believe it or not, that are owned by non-Gambians. Fact. I'm not saying they are not hiring Gambians, but they are majority owned by non-Gambians. A good number of the money that is made from both institutions, QCell and AfriCell, these media, GSM companies, is going out of the country. Fact. Mohammed Dia is the face of the Q Group. It's not a Gambian thing. He's a shareholder. AfriCell every day you is nari. We're seeing them. It's not hitting. So you give these people license to come and start to cut the business they were giving us, to start serving as competition for us, to start taking our staff, and of course, any other work that you want to do. That's why the Gambian media is struggling so hard. They will argue and claim that they are not doing it for business. They don't advertise for people or entities in that sense. But how much money were they in fact bringing into us? Now, if anybody wants to do, any musician or any Gambian talent wants to do anything, you go to AfriCell, they will give you banners, they will give you flyers, they will give you billboards. They made CDs for artists. When before, if you have a budget of 50,000, they give it to you. You go, you make your negotiation, you have every little thing that you needed to do. You subcontract, you don't let it for overbody. Different people. If they give us $5,000 or they give Singate $175,000, different stakeholders in. Now everything is produced in-house. So these are the things that they do, empowering those media houses, those people, giving them licenses, and ordinary citizens like us are here and struggling to be able to get to that level.
So how would you describe that kind of action from the government giving a license to businesses to operate media institutions?
It's a poor judgment on their side, and I hope they learn from it and don't repeat it again, because it was a very wrong decision. And until this minute, they have a big edge over us, the ordinary citizens, and they continue to thrive and rise more and more and more. And by default, those of us that are operating, in fact, they have the license to operate locally. We are online. We have no choice but to go to them for the internet. So they can even be angry with me and tamper with my internet connection, whatever it is they need to do. In fact, both groups would not want to have anything much to do with me. For the record, for the longest, AfriCell didn't want to have anything to do with me. For the longest, because we hold them to account. I don't sugarcoat. In fact, we are in Ramadan. This happened, I think, 6-7 years ago, when they were supposedly cheating the Gambian people and taking people were buying credits, putting it on their phones without using the credit, and the credit was going. I did thorough investigation and wrote a story on this that, became a bitter, that has bitter consequences on them. And eventually, AfriCell had to apologize to the Gambian people through us, and they are directed to go and refund people whose credit they use. This is there, it's fact. People at AfriCell now may not know. Those who were there then know. This is before a lot of the people who are currently working there became part of the team. They lost over $4 million at the time.
Yes, we've also understand that holding people to account, especially the government and other private sectors, is a problem, like the media holding them to account, because most of these media depend on advertisements. Mm-hmm. As a media chief, what do you think can be done to ensure that the media will hold people to account, and then still now they will not be suffering from running their institutions?
That is the thing, the way this country is set up. And I've had this conversation, to be honest, with 2 media chiefs. And they told me, ñun amuñ dollar, ñun amuñ paycheck. Si li lañ ko yaakaare. This is what we rely on. Do ñu ko yakal. And this was during the days of Yaya Jammeh, when I was doing my programs. And in fact, at one time, I'll say this publicly, I interviewed my brother Aruna Drame, and I asked him this question because I had a partnership with him. My shows were airing live on Paradise TV, Paradise FM then, from the United States. I was doing it live on Gambian Talents Radio and Paradise Radio.
Yeah, I think I used to listen to it.
Yes, the Bundok Pata show. Yeah. Very popular and famous show in the Gambia and abroad. And with time, they stopped it. So in my interview with him, I asked him, of course, they were not comfortable to have me on their airwaves because it would serve as a threat. I said it as it is. Even though people would criticize me and say, oh, Nekulo only participate, you were just promoting talent. You didn't do things for the Gambia. You were on this thing. Only if they know. I'm not sure even if you are going to get to that and how much research you have done. Because when it comes to the Gambian media, I've been in the forefront of it. I just did not want to be biased and supporting Yaya Jammeh and the government alone then, and discrediting the opposition, or doing the opposite and just being there for the opposition and overruling or discrediting what Yaya Jammeh did altogether. A lot of Gambians may not know that factually, the day that Imam Babali made his decision, and he said this in a video on the day of our graduation, when we were upstairs with the different ministers, he told them that when Gambians, this young man was there, when he said that when Gambians were scared of him, when Gambians were running away from him in the diaspora, when nobody wanted to associate with him, when they were telling him to people were avoiding him, I embraced him in the diaspora. I facilitated the creation of his website. I facilitated the creation. I created his entire social media pages and was managing them. I served as his PRO and protocol in the United States. The decision that he made to stay in the Gambia was made in my living room in Anchorage, Alaska, when he came there on exile. So we did a lot at the time, without fear or favor, affection or ill will. The baton turned around. Back then still, the likes of Mamadou Sabali would not mess with me. I tried to interview them for the longest and they would not grant me an interview because they consider me to be controversial. But I will publish things about Mamadou Sabali as the Gambia's pen. I've been criticized by people in the diaspora by the struggle so much because I was not a member of the struggle. I did not got in there to fight the Yaya Jammeh. I maintain my professionalism as a media chief, as somebody that has a media house. When I have my sentiment show that is on relationship to do, and they are having a press conference about removing the Yaya Jammeh, I will not cut my sentiments. I will tell them that you can record and send me the recording. I play it later, but I'm not going to cut my sentiment show. They labeled me as a sellout, as an enabler, as somebody that was with the Yaya Jammeh. When Musa Savage went to Germany and did his trainings, and I wrote stories about it and celebrated him, I was cussed out, insulted, and called all kinds of names. They've changed my pictures. They tusngal me, put wigs on my head, and caricatured me and called me names because they associated me with the Yaya Jammeh when I wasn't. So what media chiefs need to do is to know their profession, to know that there is supposed to be integrity. You can work with anybody. I'm working with the Gambia government in several different facets. We just invited the president as the chief guest of honor for our graduation with several other ministers. We are working with so many different government parastatals in different capacities. But I will not allow them to buy me. Let them give us contracts if they want to. Let them block our doors like the license we are looking for. I struggled so hard to get my accreditation, to train the young people, and all other things. If decisions are to be made where government contracts are to be given to media houses, let them exclude us. I'm not going to go if we deserve it, if we can provide results, and we can convey their message to the Gambian people, let them come to us. We will go to everybody. We want to be partners with everybody, but with dignity and respect and integrity. And the profession should be safeguarded.
Yeah, I've also made to understand that you've wrote a letter to President Barrow to meet him. I don't know on what course, but have you been granted?
That is in my capacity. You are interviewing me about Gambian talents, unless you want to get into the Washington West African Center. I am the founder and executive director of the Washington West African Center, which is a 501c3 non-profit organization that provides wraparound, cultural relevant wraparound services for the West African community in the United States. And part of what I am in the Gambia for is to actually, in Africa for right now, is to meet the presidents of the different West African countries, which was inspired and recommended by Dr. Bax Toure, a Gambian intellectual, statesman, humble person, educated, that the whole 9 yards that's representing and putting the Gambia on the map, came to Washington, had a meeting with my office and asked me a question. Are the West African governments aware of the project you are doing for their citizens? I said no. He said they need to be aware. If I were you, I will try to reach out to them to introduce WAWAC and the work that you do. And it is on that basis that I am trying to meet the different African presidents. It's been challenging for a good number of them as I come in. Before I get here, I wrote letters the same way I wrote to President Barrow, is the same way I wrote to the President Madabio of Sierra Leone, the Nigerian president, the Ghanaian president, the Mauritanian president, the Senegalese president, the Togolese president, the Malian president, the Ivorian president. I wrote to all of them. Unfortunately, I've not heard word from them. For some of them, it was the political reason. My time that I come in coincide with the political situation. Like Senegal, currently, we all know the political climate there. The last time I came, Sierra Leone and Nigeria were just going through elections, and it was rough there. I was advised to not go there. I mean, Guinea wanted to receive me, but it was time for me to go back to the US. I have a lot of work to do. I write to them before I came. And President Barrow, I wrote and was told, I never hear back from them. This time around, I wrote back to them. Just this morning, I got a call from the protocol office, and they told me my previous request was granted, but I had already left the country. I never got any official correspondence, but this morning I get a call from them, so they are pursuing it. Hopefully within a few days, they may call me or decide they cannot see me.
We will come